Folks, you'll see the trail of text messages between these two lovers. And you will see other digital evidence supporting her involvement and Ryan Cooper's involvement in the killing, and Houston Duncan's involvement in the killing of Ryan Cooper. Let's talk about that. Folks, you'll see evidence that way back, starting early that year, early 2021, a plan was being hatched by these two lovers, the defendant and Ryan Cooper, and Houston Duncan, to kill Ryan Cooper. You will see that there were messages as early as March when the defendant talks with Houston Duncan, and they're planning to be a family. You'll see by March, they're talking about having children together by sometimes the following year. And you'll see deleted and recovered messages between the defendant and Houston Duncan talking about, well, we'll have a family. We can do IVF, you know. If we can't have a child naturally, let's do IVF. You will see that at some point it escalates. She tells Houston Duncan, I fucking hate him, Ryan. You'll see sometimes in March, she sends this ominous text where she says, I'm wishing for a rogue semi-accident. Ryan was a farmer. I'm wishing for a rogue semi-accident. No survivors. Something takes him out. But the gods were watching Ryan Cooper at that time, and no semi-accidents happened. You'll see text messages where she says, I can't wait another summer. Can't happen. I can't wait another summer. Folks, you'll see that the day of Ryan's death approached in June. And especially on that morning, Karina Cooper tells Houston Duncan in a text that he calls herself his wife. And you'll see some charged sexual messages between them at that point, where he says, very soon I will be sleeping with my hands on your crotch. And I paraphrase that, because that's not the word he uses. But you will see those messages. And you can see the sexually charged messages between them at that point, that day, the last day that Ryan Cooper was alive. Now that night, we've talked about the story that you will see that Karina gives the officers. But when the officers find the deleted evidence, they find that there were Snapchat messages that night at 3:30 in the morning. Remember, the 911 call in terms of timeline is 4:33. You'll also hear that before Karina Cooper calls 911, she calls Ryan Cooper's brother, Aaron Cooper. Now you'll hear that at 3:31 in the morning, an hour before the 911 call. The defendant and Houston Denker are talking on Snapchat. Folks, for those of you who don't know what Snapchat is, you'll hear that it's an app. It's an app on your phone that you can use to send messages. And the way it's set up is that the messages disappear or can be said to disappear once the other persons receive them. You have an expert who will take you through the Snapchat conversations. But you'll hear that they are snapping at 3:31 in the morning. And folks, you'll remember that Karina told the cops that she was asleep at that time. She would be asleep at that time. But they're snapping. And that's when that snap of remember those casings, fucking remember those, no ifs and or buts, he sent. 3:32. The day's messages of I love you, she says absolutely, 100% she will remember them. And then Houston Denker sends a text that says, when I leave your house, send me a text. When I leave your house, so that I can open it when I get back. And you'll see why that evidence in Snapchat is trying to determine its location. Now, folks, you'll also hear that earlier that evening, Houston's phone shows that he was driving back and forth from his residence, slightly past Ryan Cooper's residence, and back to his residence. And he didn't do this once, he didn't do this twice, he did this 3 times, where he was driving, passing the residence, coming back to his house, going back and coming back, going back, coming back. Estimating how long it will take for me to move back and forth. Now you hear that this text messages set the plan rolling that night. Houston Denker says in these text messages, I gotta get this shit done. And Karina's, the defendant's response is go. They say, phone's going down. And you'll hear from forensic experts, you'll hear testimony that people know that if you turn off your phone or if it's not moving or the movement of your phones can be detected in an investigation. So you'll hear them talk about phones going down. Karina saying, go. An hour later, the man she married will be lying dead in the recliner in the living room. Now, folks, as I said, you'll hear evidence that she said she was asleep until she heard a sound. She described this as a sound. But you'll hear that forensic evidence says that's not true. She wasn't asleep. You'll hear that at 4:13 in the morning, she watched something on her phone. That this just doesn't happen on its own, that it's user manipulated. Someone has to be on the phone for it to use that phone. And that she watched something, a picture, on her phone. That was deleted. You'll hear that at 4:18 a.m. She calls, remember, the evidence will tell you, 4:33. At 4:18, she deleted 2 photos from her phone. Then, folks, you'll hear that at 4:23 to 4:33 a.m., the defendant, Karina Cooper, took 170 steps in her residence. How do we know this? You'll hear from experts that the phone has an app sometimes, a health app on the phone, that when the user is walking with the phone, it records what you're doing. And that, contrary to her statement that she woke up to some noise, the phone shows that she was walking between 4:23 and 4:33, 170 steps, 393.7 feet in 10 minutes. You'll hear, folks, that that's longer than a football field. Touchdown, touchdown. Now, as I told you, you'll hear that the police tried to see physical evidence that they couldn't find. They couldn't find the gun. They couldn't find the gun that had been used to kill Ryan Cooper in that residence. That Ryan Cooper was dead, 2 bullet holes on his face, and the gun missing. But the police found something that was significant and helpful. Remember those shell casings. No fucking ifs and buts. Remember those shell casings. She forgot to pick one of the shell casings. The evidence will show that the police found one shell casing. Ryan Cooper was shot by a 22. Size of the shell casing. Police found that. Police dig into their lives, they find that they get statements of the threats that she'd made to Ryan. They find that the defendant, Karina Cooper, was in financial trouble. She didn't have any money. You'll hear evidence from someone from the bank who used to work with her. And you'll hear that he would be nagging Karina to make sure that she was not overdrafted. There'll be numerous text messages that you will see that in the days and the months leading up to Ryan's death, this man will text Karina and say, please, you're overdrafted again, put in some money. And she will give an excuse after another excuse after another excuse. You are overdrafted. Please put in $200, $300, serve something. You're on the overdraft list again. Now, talked about the timeline. We talked about the evidence you'll see in regards to the timeline that the police are told that this is what happened. And I told you that a story was full of holes. And some of those you'll hear from the blood. You'll hear that the blood in the scene tells a story. The blood was not consistent with the story that the Karina was trying to sell to the cops. And what did the blood show? That almost every officer came in. 2 officers who come in. The first officer is there at 4:42 in the morning. So 4:33 she calls. Aaron Cooper is the first person. That's Brian's brother. First person to arrive. Because remember, she calls Aaron before she calls 911. She's found a brother Aaron's brother bleeding on the recliner, and instead of calling 911, she calls Aaron first. Aaron arrives. You'll hear from the timeline, from the evidence, that he arrives around 4:39 in the morning. Aaron will tell you that the blood did not appear red, like bright red, like just blood that just came out immediately. It appeared darker. It's been out for a while. First officer, Deputy Fengman, will tell you that his first observation is the blood was coagulating. It was drying. From his experience, that the blood had been spilling for a longer time. You'll hear from a blood reconstruction expert who will talk to you more about how blood spatter and how blood behaves when it comes out of a human body. And folks, some of you have common sense, some of you have hunted. You'll see that evidence, part of the instructions that Judge Larson will give you, is to apply your common sense, believability, credibility, in this case, to reach a verdict. Now, talked about finances, you'll hear from a medical examiner, the pathologist. She'll tell you that Ryan Cooper was shot at close range, within 3 or 4 feet, that there was tippling, which she'll tell you what that means, that there was tippling on his face. That means that the gun that shot him was close enough. Someone comfortable enough to be close enough to him, sleeping on the recliner, shooting him on his face. Now you'll hear that Ryan used to sleep on the recliner in the living room, by a living room door, right by the door. We talked about the evidence will tell you there was no sign of forced entry in this house. Now, you'll hear evidence, and we've talked about this, but you'll hear evidence of the cover-up, which is part of that would be the Snapchat messages. You'll hear evidence of the attempted cover-up. And you'll hear that there were evidence of searches, numerous searches, on Houston Denker's phone. You'll hear that Houston Denker and Karina had been talking about replacing her husband, Ryan Cooper, as the father to their children. They have 3 children, Cade, Cable, and Cortland. You'll hear that there were conversations of him being the dad, and that she'll refer to Ryan as just the sperm donor. You'll hear that Houston Denker was gearing up for this role of the dad and even looking up for Father's Day 2021. Now you'll hear that Houston Denker had a lot of searches that the officers were able to retrieve from his phone. Some of them were. With the court's permission, may I proceed? You may. Thank you. You'll hear evidence that Houston Denker made incriminating searches on his phone. Lots of incriminating searches. Some appear to have been made way before Ryan Cooper's death, and some were made the day of Ryan Cooper's death, and the following days and weeks after Ryan Cooper's execution. You'll hear that these searches were incriminating. You'll hear that the defendant deleted her search history. You will hear that a day or so after she helped with the execution of her husband, that she deleted. She logged into a Snapchat account through another means and deleted it because her phone had been seized by the cops, and deleted her account, hoping that there will be no trace found. Now, we talked about the smoking gun that was not found at the scene, the smoking gun that we know the size of the caliber weapon that it was, because they found that shell casing, one of those shell casings. That smoking gun could not stay hidden forever. Sometimes later, a friend of Houston Denker's, colleague, someone that he used to work with briefly, pops up to the cops and says, Houston Denker gave me some guns to keep for him. Can you take them? And lo and behold, of course, they test these guns. You'll hear the gun expert who will come and talk to you from the DCI crime lab in Ankeny. And that expert will tell you that when they tested these guns, they found the gun that had been used to murder Ryan Cooper as he slept on his recliner. That one of the guns that was given to this friend of Houston Denker was the firearm that was used to kill Ryan Cooper. Now, folks, at the end of this trial, you will receive instructions from the court. You will receive instructions that, as we discussed during jury selection, talks about the burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
Objection, Your Honor, this is not material for an opening statement.
Overruled, you can continue.
You'll receive evidence that talk of the burden that you need to apply to this case. Those facts that you've heard, those facts that you will hear as testimony by witnesses who will take that seat and talk to you in this courtroom, you will see exhibits and any stipulations between the parties, which are agreements between the parties, that you will have to go back with you to apply those facts to the law given to you by the judge in this particular case. The evidence, as you will see, it will show that Karina Cooper was not just an unfaithful wife. She was not just a wife who wanted, as a text message will show you, to leave Traer, Iowa, for a better life in a sunnier place with a younger man. The evidence will show you that she was not just dishonest, but that she was manipulative, that she is a co-conspirator. You will get an instruction to apply on aiding and abetting. That she aided, that she abetted, that this crime from the evidence that you'll see that Ryan Cooper dies by her involvement absolutely 100%, like she said. She was in this absolutely 100%. You'll see that she's a planner. The evidence will show that she is a murderer. And for that, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we will ask you at the end of this trial to hold Karina Cooper accountable for planning and carrying out her husband's murder hand in hand with her lover. We will ask you to look at the evidence, the text, the blood, and apply common sense. We submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, that the evidence in this case will prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she is guilty, and we will ask you to return that verdict. Thank you very much.